Yeah, but there was two that were the same.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And I think you're probably good to go, Dave.
Awesome. Well, let me pull up a presentation and I will start sharing my screen. Okay, so that was interesting. Zoom does its own thing. All right, so this presentation is branded with my company branding because I recently presented it to the group there as kind of a dry run. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is continuous learning. Basically, if you saw the title of the meetup, it's how sharp is your saw? Basically, you've probably heard the story of the two woodcutters. One goes home for an hour every day in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day, his friend is like, "I work longer and harder than you. Why do you always cut more wood?" And he's like, "What are you doing in the hour that you're at home?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm sharpening my saw." Right. So this is one of the things that becomes critical to us as professionals in software development is that we need to be continuously learning and improving and growing. I've got a handful of quotes here that I pulled from various illuminaries, people who have spoken of education. There's a lot on the theme of Socrates. Education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel, type of a thing, right? One of my favorites and one that is most applicable to our industry is Angela Harms said, "We're climbing a mountain of knowledge while it's growing." I think she went on from there to say that we are actually also contributing to the mountain. So it's even more meta than that. But every day there's something new in software development that we need to master, or at least need to be good enough at that we can actually do our job, right? And so one of the things that I have encouraged the developers on my team, I know some of you know that, some of you don't. I probably a decade ago moved into more of an engineering leadership role. Though my current role, I'm an individual contributor. So one of the things that I've encouraged my developers to do for a while has been always get better at what you are doing. We need to improve. We need to know our tools better. We need to know our programming language better. We need to know things more broadly. Before we started the recording, before everybody was here, we were talking about doing React in the front end versus Angular versus .NET web forms. And this year is the first time I've done any React for real. Like previously it was the 3 or 4 years before that, I was working on Angular. And when I first started doing web development, I was doing, oddly, I don't even know. This won't mean anything to most people, but I was doing Oracle 8i, which is when Oracle decided they were going to jam an Apache web server into the database, and you could expose packages and procedures as HTTP endpoints. And so we had a whole bunch of stored procedures that returned HTML. Thank goodness we're not doing that anymore. So what I wanted to talk about tonight and do something that maybe is a little different than this group is used to is I want to talk about a specific tool that I've used extensively for improving my skills, for learning new things. I've shared it extensively with people that I work with. I've done lots of exercises here, and it is it's basically just a tool built by developers for developers to learn development, and it's exercism. It used to be .io. It's exercism.org now. So this is kind of their homepage, and the idea here is that we want to get fluent or learn something about different programming languages, different tools that we need to use that we don't know. So I'm actually going to jump out of the slides here. This is the instructions for installing on a Mac. I mentioned earlier that I started a new job in August, and everybody in the company uses a Mac by mandate. And so these instructions are specifically for a Mac because I knew nobody in my audience was going to be using a Mac, and probably nobody in this audience is using a Mac besides me. So the good news
I'm on a Mac.
The good news is, oh, good. See, thanks for making me feel less like an outsider. No, but the instructions for installing on Windows or Linux are just as easy as they are for installing on a Mac. So what I'd like to do with everybody is I'll just flip through these slides and show some of the basics of how exorcism.io works. Maybe open up the page and show you where the install instructions are. And then I want people to pick an exercise and try to do the exercise. And I will help anybody who gets stuck at any point along the way. So this is the first exercise. This exercise, I don't even know, what is this? What language is this even in? It kind of doesn't matter because it's a hello world. And the whole point of the hello world is to get your environment set up so that you can do the code. When you look at the tutorial, when you look at the exercise here, down here where this red arrow points is the command line instruction to download that exercise so you can work on it locally. So basically, when you install Exorcism, it puts a little command line tool on that allows you to download exercises. Then you can work on them locally on your machine and whatever editor you have. You can see I've got a combination of Goland, WebStorm, and VS Code running on my machine. There's probably a few others that are hiding. So from there, we download the code. Here is me implementing a solution and then doing a submit and the file name. And that is how you submit the code. And then you can see this is some of the tracks that are available on Exorcism. And I think from there, maybe our best bet is to just jump right into the website. So if you can follow along with me to exorcism.org, the first thing you're going to want to do is sign in. I am currently signed in, but I can sign out and go back through that process. The easiest way to sign in or sign up is by using GitHub. And part of that is because the developers of Exorcism wanted to encourage people to learn GitHub because Git has pretty much taken over the world of source control. Some of us still use Team Foundation server or some related toolkit, but even that has a Git interface. So learning source control is critical for any new developer, and GitHub is a great place to showcase any of the work that you've been doing. So from here, we want to go to the, let's see, like I said, my instructions were all for Mac because I forgot to add the Windows instructions. But it's pretty easy to install on any tool or any operating system that you're using. So let's see, let's come over to the.
So while you're clicking around, for a lot of languages, you don't necessarily have to install anything, right? I mean, there's a learning mode.
That is true.
It's an online editor. So I'm fairly certain that for C# and for JavaScript, you can do the exercises in their own editor, although
I think that's the case for most of them is you can just do start in editor if you want to skip the step of downloading it. I like to pull it down locally because I like to verify that my environment works, et cetera, especially for anything that I'm actually trying hard to learn.
Yeah. And my experience is that the later exercises, as they get a little more difficult, it's nice to be in your own environment. So.
Yeah, especially if you have to do any refactoring or anything like that. So if you've ever thought, man, I would really like to learn Pharaoh because I think that Smalltalk is making a comeback and it's going to be the wave of the future. Well, here is a Pharaoh learning track. Oh. If you want to get better at Bash or COBOL, interesting. Hey, that's even a new track. We should all go learn COBOL. 20 years ago or 22 years ago, that would have been a valuable skill to have, right in time for the Millennium Bug. So the last time I ran this exercise for a group, what I did is I shared my screen while I worked on a solution for one of the problems, and encouraged anybody who has any trouble doing the same to reach out, and I will jump in and help you get unblocked, unstuck, get delivering. One thing that I wanted to point out that may not be super clear here. I'm actually going to look at it on the Go track because I know how the Go track is set up. You can be in a couple of different modes, and this little guy right here is how you select what mode you want to be in. So right now I'm in learning mode, where there is, for the Go track, a Go journey that takes you through and teaches you a bunch of the basics of Go. And then you'll notice that there are some tracks that are locked because I haven't gotten that far down the pathway to unlock them. If I am pretty convinced that I just want to jump right to whatever this meteorology exercise is, I can come up here and disable learning mode, which takes you to the practice mode. And in practice mode, everything is unlocked. There's some of the tracks that do not have a learning mode. We have a big PHP monolith where I'm working now, and I haven't done any PHP in a really long time, and I wanted to refresh my PHP knowledge. So I came in here to look for the PHP track, and PHP, you're just kind of on your own. There's 77 available exercises. Pick one that's interesting. So one of the things that I think is really nice about the exorcism experience is that exorcism you have an opportunity after you've completed an exercise, completed one of the exercises, you can go in and see the community solutions, and you can see how all of the other people solved it. And sometimes you look at it and everybody solved it exactly the same way. And sometimes you look at it and nobody solved it the same way. And so you get an opportunity to learn a lot of alternate methods. And you can go in and you can say, you can give somebody suggestions or critiques, write comments, etc., on what, though this user has disabled theirs, on what you think of the solution, suggestions you have for improving the solution, etc. So let's see. I did do way more of the C# exercises before, but this is iteration 3 of Exorcism, and I'm pretty sure they reset some of the tracks as they upgraded. Probably not intentionally, but it has happened. So,
yeah, I haven't been back on it for a while, and I know that my C# and JavaScript progress is completely reset. So I'm back at the very beginning.
right. Okay, well, let's see. I am going to, this circle buffer might be a fun one to try. See what's changed. Update the exercise. Apparently I started this one a while ago and it changed. Okay, well, I'm going to continue in the editor. And then run the tests. All right. Instructions. Okay. Oh. I don't remember how to initialize. I was just talking about Conway's Game of Life earlier, and I was like, I don't know how to instantiate a new array, initialize an array. Yeah, T of 5. Okay, it's pretty close. New T array. So despite having over 20 something years of experience, you guys get to see me not being great at what I'm doing, learning things from the beginning. Okay. Let's see. So if I'm going to read, I need to know where the read head is. Private int read. Zero. Eight. Okay. Let's see. So I just set T. Obviously used to having a lot of help from my IDE. Does anybody feel comfortable sharing what exercise they decided to pick up?
I just started Lucian's Luscious Lasagna, which is one of the early um, JavaScript exercises. Since like you, I'm having to jump into React, so I need to sharpen my JavaScript saw.
Yeah, for sure. So are you doing JavaScript or TypeScript?
It's TypeScript, but now it's all JavaScript underneath. So
That's right.
I guess I should look and see if there's a TypeScript learning path here.
There might be.
Looks like Steph is doing a bash exercise. She posted in the chat.
Oh, nice.
I got to say, one of the things that is probably nice about setting up the environment locally rather than working with their online editor is you have locally. I assume you'd have access to all the tests locally as well,
You
and
do.
so you can poke into the tests and learn a little bit more about TDD if you wanted to.
If I copy all my code here, I can show that real quick. I'm going to lose all my code actually, because I need to, well, I don't actually need to. So I can just go into my terminal. And I like to put all my code at the same spot near the root, but then exorcism, download. Exercise. And track equals. Well, there we go. Okay, and then I can open VS Code here. I think I have .NET installed locally on this Mac. We're about to find out. Oh. What? Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe going back to the browser-based editor. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is one of those areas where having access to the IDE helps me a lot, because I don't remember how to get the length of an array. I never work with arrays. So. And then I suddenly think maybe I don't need an array at all. Maybe what I really want is a list of T. Maybe what I want to do is not care about where we're reading and writing, and maybe I just want to say, hey, the private size, private int size equal, and here I just say or equals new list of T. Guess I don't even need to do that. I can just do that. And size equals capacity. And then read is always return first. We'll see how much stuff is actually, not return. Var value equals buffered up first. And buffer zero. And write is simply buffer add value. This is where I once again have to go to Google because my IDE just does that for me. Okay, cool. System.link. Expected you to write code in C#, not in whatever language you're doing instead. That's actually been one of the hard things about learning Go is like, yeah, semicolons are super overrated. Don't. I think okay, so that is void. I was kind of thinking that return out acted like pop where it would pull an element out. Okay, 6 tests passed, but a lot of them failed. Full buffer cannot be written to. Okay. if buffer dot length greater than equal to size, throw new invalid operation exception. Fine. Oh, it's count for a list. Hey, one more test passes. Here becomes easy. Okay. So overwrite really reads an item. Oh, actually, I need to check if it's full. Okay. If it's full, then read the oldest item. And then write. Well, cool. Let's see. I'm sure people did it a lot better than I did. How do I see the whole file?
Hidden scroll bar.
Hidden scroll bar. Stupid Mac. It's stuff like that that's still getting me. Like, there's obviously a scroll bar there, but how do you know? You can't know until you just get in there and start scrolling. That's not very nice. This guy has implemented it how I had it originally, but I wasn't doing as good a job as he did. This guy uses a queue, which is an interesting structure. Makes it pretty easy. Okay. Does anybody else want to show anything they're working on? You guys are all so quiet. Steve, what project, what did you decide to pick up and try?
Well, I foolishly also tried the circular buffer one, but
How'd it go?
well, it's going very slow.
Ah, you should have had a false start where you started with an array and then ditched it for a list or a queue. That would have been an even better thing because queue implements push and pop, and that makes it super easy.
Yes. Did you complete your circular buffer?
I did.
Nice.
This is my circular buffer code on screen now. So
I successfully completed the lasagna, the Lucian's Luscious Lasagna JavaScript one, but that was it was a pretty simple exercise of just calculating basic number exercise. How many minutes does it take to prepare a lasagna with X number of layers? And if it's been in the oven for 20 minutes, how much longer until it's going to cook?
would you
But
like to show us your
tell you what,
presentation?
I can here I will. So I did publish the solution. So I sent David, I sent you a
Link to
chat. And so you should be able to just follow that link and you can see you should be able to see my solution.
excellent.
I mean,
I did that one too, but in C#.
Oh, nice.
It did take me about 2 minutes longer than I expected, but that's because I started typing preparation time in minutes and then decided I didn't want to type the whole thing. And so there on line 38, at one point I had pre-preparation time. I had a typo. But I was able to look at the console log or the output log and figure that out. So I say it's a pretty simple exercise, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, who else did what? It did the Lucian's Luscious Lasagna. Do you want to send me your link in the chat and I can open up your C# solution? If you have one that's complete.
Yeah. Where's the share button?
So I know when I finished the exercise and there was something about marking complete and there was a choice to publish and when I published, that's what gave me the that's I think what gave me the link.
That's where you got the share button. Let's see. I think if I look at my implementation, I think here's my iterations, continue editor, get mentoring. I think it's done.
The solution up on my broadcasting.
Sure, I will share all my iterations. They're not great. Oh, I see. If I stop sharing, then we can see.
So let me try this. That should have made it big for everyone, I think. Although not the clearest text. So
There's a setting in Zoom that will let you turn on high res or HD mode. I don't know why it's not on by default.
yeah, I don't know.
So. Nice. Yeah, so some of the exercises you can get through pretty quickly. They're pretty straightforward, and some of the exercises are pretty complicated when you get into the hard and very hard sections of the So you can see that right now it looks like I've completed a couple of the simpler exercises. If you go in here, there are some that are a lot more challenging.
So I don't know if you'd like to share, but I clicked on the link, Steph, to the bash exercise that you did, or that you said you were starting, and it was hamming, which I have never heard of before, and the hamming distance between two DNA strands. Do you? You certainly don't have to, but if you'd like to, you can come off mute and tell us a little bit about solving the problem in bash.
Yeah, my background's Python, so I'm literally on my third bash ever. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
hold off sharing, but it's going exciting.
Oh, no worries. Were you familiar with the hamming distance before you did that exercise?
Only in like MATLAB, like numerical analysis, like in no way related to coding.
Oh,
Okay. I like that they're like, let's talk about an advanced concept in DNA. Your body is made up of cells that contain DNA. I'm like, okay, step way back there for a second. Wow.
so that hamming distance is similar to edit distance. If you've ever done some just text processing, it looked like a pretty common problem is how many letters would you have to change, or how many steps is it to change one word into another word. So yeah, that's an interesting problem.
Yeah.
And I would honestly have not the slightest clue how to solve that in bash. So
this is one that I did in C# or in Go that is related to DNA as well. But basically it's super simple. It's just string replace. You just want to create the RNA sequence from a DNA sequence. So interesting types of exercises that they come up with. So did everybody who wanted to get connected through the CLI, did you all figure out how to do that? Maybe. Wonder if my Go. Okay. I do have .NET installed locally now. Did not a moment ago. All right, let's see if I copy my implementation down. Oh, the C# track. I want to see my completed exercises. And I want to see the code. Oh, they're all skipped. Why are they skipped?
they're all actually tagged with skip.
Yeah, and I think it's so that you can go through and run them one at a time without being overwhelmed by the massive number of failures you start.
Yeah.
You have no code.
Yeah, I face plenty of I face plenty of failures in much my everyday life. So
Yeah. See, there's one of mine is since moving to a Mac, I cannot break the muscle memory of Control C, Control V Where on the Mac, they are, it's Command C, Command V, and they are way too close together to make any sense to my brain.
And then you can't switch them automatically because then like you go in the browser and it's just like control.
Yeah, everything is broken. If you,
Yeah.
I know a few Windows guys who have switched to the Mac and they're like, oh, I'll just remap the keys. And then they're in an even worse state because they've remapped the keys. Hey, look, it passes locally too. So from here, I could just do like an exorcism, submit the file name, which is circular buffer.cs, and then it would submit. And if I do this, it's going to say, hey, you've already done that exercise, or it'll say, hey, you've got 2 iterations and they are exactly the same.
Oh, nice.
Because I actually copied the code down to make the second iteration, but in case you are curious, that's how it works. You have to put the files that you're submitting. You can't just say, hey, submit everything in this directory as like specific files that you want to test against. So, so I don't know. I don't really have anything else prepared for you guys all. I was just hoping that we could all get together and write some code and learn some more about tools that we need to know in order to be effective at our jobs. Show you guys a few of my, trial, error, false starts as a live code in front of you. The thing that they say never to do in a presentation, unless, of course, the presentation is to show people that we all have to figure out how to code, and it's okay if we don't do it perfectly the first time. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything they want to share about if you've used exorcism, if you've had success with it, if you thought this exercise was crazy? I don't know.
Sure, comment. This is why I show up to user group meetings, because I didn't even know about this site. So it's very cool.
Awesome. I'm glad that you got to learn about it. I feel like it doesn't seem, when I say I've used this site a lot and you guys look at it and you're like, you've done like 9 exercises. I swear they reset my progress. I swear I did most of the C# track at some point in the past.
So Steph posted in the chat that you can use the exorcism CLI to override the default directory.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Yeah, you can have it check out the code wherever you want it to.
I'm going to copy that out to a little notepad because I don't want to forget that. And I like to be kind of particular about where things show up on my computer. So
I agree. I feel the same. I want all of my code to show up in my user directory /code/ wherever it comes from.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Steph did ask, how did you end up finding exorcism?
that is a great question. I do not remember the answer to it. So like I say, this is their 3rd iteration. They've been around for quite a while. I think probably I was at a conference and one of the original creators was like, here's something we're building. And it was like probably limited to Ruby and JavaScript and maybe C at the time. And since then, it's grown a lot more tracks and a lot more features. There's one feature that I am eagerly awaiting the return of, which is teams. You used to be able to join a team and then everybody in the team could share their code just to the team instead of having it be either private to yourself or public to everyone. And that was super helpful because you could set up a team that wanted to learn something together and just like help each other learn how to improve your code. Feedback from random people on the internet is nice and all, but feedback from somebody you actually know is usually more welcome.
One of the features they have on this new version of Exorcism is you can request a mentor, and I did that once. And you know, my thought was, I don't really need a mentor. I know what I'm doing. But this says I should request a mentor, so I'll try it out. And it was good. The mentor thought of a lot of things that I didn't think about. And you know, at first I was kind of defensive, like, no, I don't need to do that. But they made some good points, and it ended up, you know, I learned some stuff. I think I was working with Python and ended up being very valuable. So that's a feature that's there. And I think you can work with a mentor, and your solution doesn't have to be available to everybody for everyone to see.
You can also be a mentor if you happen to be
right,
really good at some particular aspect of programming. Like if I were trying to learn Xamarin, I think I know who I'd ask to be my mentor. Not me. I wouldn't be my own mentor, that's for sure. Well, hopefully yeah, and I'm you may not work there anymore, and I'm sure that you immediately forgot everything you knew about it. You'll never write another mobile app again. Anyway, I hope everybody can go learn something more than they knew before, or help somebody else learn. I think that to me has been one of the most valuable things. Is I learn more by teaching others than when I just go try to learn something on my own. So go be a mentor, or go learn a new programming language. I don't know. Like I think that most of the time most of the jobs that I've had in the last 20 something years have been jobs where I have to know at least 2 or 3 different programming languages, depending on how you count them. Just to build a basic web application, you're probably talking about JavaScript, maybe TypeScript, CSS, HTML, some server-side language, which might be, if you're trying to minimize the number of texts, it might be Node, but it's probably not. And then interaction with a database, like some kind of SQL interface. And that's a lot of stuff to learn. It's a lot of saws to keep sharp if you want to actually deliver something interesting and of value. So it's good to have tools like this that help.